karate chop. I mean, it's from right here and it's to the front. There's no wasted motion. You know, very, very few guys I've ever seen on TV playing college or pro ball where their hands are just way out here and they never come back in. Okay? So the hands need to be very close to the back shoulder. Hands in rather than hands out. You're much stronger when you keep everything in. All right? We talk about the grip too. Again, this is also very common. All right? And the reason why is guys come up, you know, from very little, it might be T-ball or coach's pitch, and their hands are very small, so they just pick up a bat the only way they can. You know, they just have to grip the bat like this, and they end up gripping it, you know, in their palms. Okay, and they never adjust when they get to high school and their hands get bigger. They still hit like this with the hand, with the knob of the bat, all right, the grip, you know, in the socket of the thumb and in the palms, and they just hit like this their whole life. You know, and eventually what's going to happen is they're going to get to a point where they're going to see a guy that throws a real good breaking ball. It may happen on the JV team, the varsity team, who knows when it's going to happen, but he's never going to hit that pitch. All right, he might hit if it hangs a couple times a season, but if a guy really snaps one off, he can only hit it he can only swing to one spot. He can't really adjust by having the bat deep in his palms like this, the way he's always hit since T-ball. He's got to make a change at some point in his career when he gets to a more adult hand size. All right, and a good time to do it is around freshman year of high school, if not a little sooner. All right, so what we do is we tell them to line their knocking knuckles up. We lay the bat down, base of the pinky, last knuckle of the trigger, base of the pinky, last knuckle of the trigger. So that we're not lining our knocking knuckles up, and that the kid can get to contact and snap his bat. He's got to be able to snap just like this. You know, he needs to do this a bunch. This is a good forearm exercise too. All right, so he's snapping. So if he is fooling that curveball, he gets here, he's still got that little bit that can help him out when he's all of a sudden, you know, 17 years old facing that kid that really is just breaking one off on him. Okay, and he's fooled, and he's still got that little bit where he can snap. All right, that was, going back to my experience, that was probably the one thing that really changed my course of my hitting career, is that I realized that I could swing with my fingers, or the bat in my fingers, not my palms, and to snap. And once that got comfortable to me, it did take a few weeks. You know, like I said, I feel like I could hit any pitch. And before that, I could probably hit, you know, only like middle end fastballs good. I started hitting away and soft stuff much better. And I think the guys that I've worked with over the years, that's been the same. I've seen the same thing with them as well. All right, so it helps with those type pitches. So make sure that, and again, we show pictures of big leaguers doing this. And also not just of where you're gripping the bat or how you're gripping it, but also at the point of contact, palm should be up and down. Palm up, palm down. Not palm forward, palm back. All right, so palm up, palm down. So right palm is facing the sky, left palm facing down for a right-handed hitter. All right, as you can see, same exact thing in the picture here of McCutcheon. All right, so that's a little bit on grip, and it's an important adjustment they've got to make in their career. Head up, chest up. You know, the kids love Mike Trout. They love to watch him play. He plays the game right. You know, Bryce Harper's another. We show these guys, you know, head up, chest up on contact. You know, this guy is not leaning way over at the waist. You know, his head is not tilted too much. It's a very slight tilt. Basically, his head is up and his chest is up. Okay? It's going to help them, you know, to be balanced. It's going to help them see the ball better as well. All right, so that's another thing to look for. If you film those kids, you know, next couple weeks or whatever, and you're looking at stuff and breaking it down, and maybe you can't quite figure out why a guy's missing certain pitches, well, at contact, is he head up, chest up, or is he hunched over? Now, yeah, if he chased a bad pitch, it's going to happen different, okay? But if he's hitting good pitches and he's not head up, chest up, and it was like a good fastball kind of middle of the way, you know, and it wasn't too far off, then that may be something that needs to be fixed, or at least looked at. Elbow in the slot. I was talking earlier about that karate chop. You know, that's a good way to kind of teach it, is go from here to here and make sure that their right elbow at contact is almost growing out of their belly button. I mean, it's like, it's so close, there's no daylight right there. I mean, they are right here, okay? So we don't want, the right elbow should not be out here on contact, out away from the body. We should have it right here, you know, very, very close to their side. That's where they're going to be their strongest. All right, so we call that elbow in the slot. No wasted motion. Again, watch those big league hitters. I'm going to try to put a couple videos up at the end here and show you all that, but how just efficient those guys are at the highest level. I mean, they're just chopping right there. All right, you can't afford to have wasted motion if you're facing 95 with a slider and a changeup and this and that. You've got to be as simple and direct to the ball as possible. No wasted motion. if you just let go with one hand all the time, you know, there may be one or two kids in your program that can get away with that because they do finish the right way. It's just at the very end it comes off. But if you let it go with everybody, then there's going to be a lot of kids who don't really finish their swing through contact, and they almost start letting go at contact. They don't really finish their swing. They just become one-handed hitters. You know, that, again, going back to the kids that are just singles hitters, if everything goes right, they hit a single, you know, that's kind of one of those things that you see sometimes. They're more just kind of up there to make contact and look smooth and let go real quick. And I don't think they really drive it with authority. You know, if a pitcher makes a mistake, you know, this is another thing we tell them. If a pitcher makes a mistake, that's got to be a key moment in the game. We have got to capitalize on that, all right? Because he may not make very many, especially when we get, you know, into the season, play these real good teams, right? I mean, we can't have mistakes go by where we just foul it off. You know, you've got to make that an important part of the game, all right? A very, very key moment in the game is when that happens. If they get away with it, pitcher gets some confidence, all right? And then the hitter loses an opportunity. So finish high. And again, if they don't believe us, oh, coach, come on. A lot of people one hand, you know, do it one-handed. Well, how about, you know, two of your favorite young players? You know, Buster Posey, Bryce Harper. Well, if it's okay for them and good enough for them, it should be okay, you know, for a high school kid. Right? So finishing high with both hands. And finishing high is important too. That allows the barrel to travel the furthest past the ball. So in other words, don't just hit the ball, hit 3 balls past it, and then continue on to finish high. Right? Getting a high extension is important to finishing the swing as well. All right, just real quick on timing. You know, we do stride adjustments, which means, you know, if we play a team in our district that, you know, has a kid that's throwing really, really hard, and you know, maybe he's upper 80s, you know, if Davey's rolling out one of his guys against us and he's just bringing it, we've got to get our stride down early if we're ever going to hit his fastball. You know, and so we tell him is, when you're on deck, time his fastball. You need to stride before release if he's throwing about, you know, mid-80s or higher, all right? Maybe low 80s or higher for some guys, all right? If he has a good fastball and he's throwing a lot of them, stride down before release, okay? And then hopefully, again, our bat path is real quick to the front, and then we're in good shape, all right? But you can't start on or after release against a guy throwing 86, 88, 90. It's not going to happen, okay? You're going to be late, you're going to get jammed, all right? So now all of a sudden, what if we go play this team and it's one of those real soft lefties that just frustrates everybody? You know, well, we better change when we stride. You know, if we're still striding before release, that guy may actually shut us down better than the hard throwing kid, right? And we've all been there before too, and it's frustrating as all get out. I mean, you know, the guy's throwing a 70-mile-an-hour fastball and a 62-mile-an-hour changeup. You know, well, the key to that, and it's very tough because kids, they really have a hard time with this, is getting them to stride after release. That's very hard to do. It's not very natural to do that. You tell them to be later than you think you can be against a kid that's really slow, really slow, really slow. Stride after release and try to hit the ball right field. You know, and generally what happens is they try to wait as long as they can. They try to go to right field. What do they still end up doing? They still end up pulling the ball because they're still earlier than they thought. And hopefully they can keep it fair if they've done the waiting long enough kind of thing. All right? So that's what we talk about, early rhythm and late rhythm, and that's just, again, what I was just talking about, hitting that good fastball and making a stride adjustment based on the types of pitchers we see. All right, y'all know how tough it can be to face those two types of pitchers in the same game. You know, someone starts their best guy, he's bringing it, and then they bring that slow reliever, and making that change mid-game is very, very tough at a high school level. So if you're talking stride adjustments, at least you give them a sense of, okay, we prepared for this. You know, we know how to do this. All right, and one drill real quick that we do for this is we'll do like a 3-plate drill. We'll have the hitter set up, and we'll have 3 plates, maybe one at 5 feet, one at 10, one at 15. And if you have some wiffle balls or something, then at 5 feet, I mean, that's like a guy's throwing 95. He's almost got to start swinging. I mean, he's got to get his stride down very early, okay? By the middle plate, it's more like an average guy, maybe 80. By the last plate, the kid's going to be so early because he's used to seeing this, it's going to take him a couple to get used to it. But from 15 feet away, a wiffle ball, after they've seen 5 feet, I mean, they've really got to wait. And they understand, okay, I got to wait. I got to stride after release. All right, release. All right, now stride. Now it's on me. The ball's finally here. You know, so letting the drive on that last plate can be a good thing if you have a team that maybe has struggled with that late rhythm in the past. Some real quick notes on the mental approach. You know, we talk about looking for our pitch. Show of hands, how many of you guys have read Ted Williams' book, The Signs of Hitting? Okay, the other section where he talks about And he says, well, there's a certain stigma being called a guess hitter. People think it's bad because you call it guess hitting. He says, well, what if we just call it being predictive, or just looking for a pitch, or thinking with the pitcher, Is that any worse than guess hitting? So he talked about how he would look for certain pitches and certain counts, and he could see the pitch coming before it did, and if it was the pitch he was looking for, look out. And he was good enough where he didn't miss it. Okay? That's kind of what we teach our kids. We don't use the word guess, because it sounds like you're just gambling and just kind of taking, picking a pitch and say, I'll look for that for the heck of it. No, you look for certain pitches because that's what you've seen him do. Okay? There's a stat out there about 80% of first pitch are fastballs. Clearly that's the case, but there are 20%. There's teams that will pitch backwards and throw off speed. So what do you do then? Well, you go up there and you see ball, hit ball. That's all you do. But you can set your stride and have a plan at the plate. Whether it's, I'm a 9-hole, so I'm looking fastball the entire at-bat unless I get 2 strikes. Or it's I'm a 3-hole that was all state last year, and people know I can hit a fastball. I may just sit all speed the entire at-bat. You just have a plan at the plate. You can turn the odds in your favor. Okay? And again, that's something that the great hitters from the past, like Ted Williams, have written about. It's something that should be good enough for our high school hitters to do too. We got to set our stride and look for a pitch. We've got to see the pitch come. We've got to anticipate. That's another word we use, is anticipate this pitch coming. Okay? Don't have guys that are defensive in their swing. They're thinking no. Oh yes, it was a good pitch. Well, it's foul ball. It's too late. Now it's 0-1. No, you don't know what's coming. All right, it's got to be yes, that pitch I'm looking for, and then boom, it's there. It's going to look like a beach ball. That's how we try to teach it and to be aggressive about it. Okay. We talk about being ahead in count, 3-1 or 2-0. We talk about from the other side of it and say, look, what do we tell our pitchers on 3-1 and 2-0? Don't walk people. If they hit it into the woods, and it's 450 feet, and he's that's fine. At least he beat us. We're not going to get beat with walks. That's what we teach our. So now the flip side, what do you think you're going to see then on 3-1? Well, that pitcher's going to be scared to death. He's going to probably just put that 4-seam fastball over the heart of that white plate. That's all he's trying to do, so his coach doesn't get on. Well, when that happens, again, that's a key moment in the game we've got to anticipate and take advantage of. All right, so ahead in the count, he's got to come with something very hittable. All right, you got to look for it, make him pay. Is that going to be the case all the time? No. All right, you occasionally get that kid on that 10% of the time where he gets a 2-0 hook and he swings and looks bad, and that kid kind of looks at you like, yeah, nice job, coach, it didn't work. Well, guess what? He's pitched backwards on us. All right, now we know he will do that. All right, we got it down. Let's be ready for the next pitch because it's still just 2-1. All right, so it's about having a plan and being mentally tough. That you're not always going to be right. You're not always going to have the pitch before it comes, but when it comes and you're right, you better be ready. Okay, because if you're just up there, just kind of seeing what you hit, you'll probably be late on the fastball and early on the off-speed. You'll kind of be in medium rhythm. If you're just in medium rhythm, you're probably not going to be on time with anything. So it's kind of good to anticipate and try to hit a pitch that you're looking for. 2-strike approach now, this is a little different. With 2 strikes, we're going to battle and just look for an off-speed pitch. If they buzz us up and in, let's get a piece of it, flip it back to that net, and make that pitcher, that's one more pitch on his pitch count. We're not looking for an up and in fastball. I've had kids, hit doubles down the left field line on a 1-2 fastball up and in. And I'm glad he did it, but after the at-bat or after the game, I'll be like, what were you looking for there? Well, I was looking off-speed, coach, but, I just reacted quick enough. I'd say, well, you know what, that's good, but if he would have thrown you an off-speed pitch, you probably would have been in trouble since you were early enough to hit an up and in fastball on 1-2. If he would have thrown the changeup, you probably wouldn't have been able to hit it. So just understand that you got away with one there. Okay? So we talk about things like that and our plan and how guys executed it after their at-bats. All right. Another thing we talk about is preparation. All the stuff we've talked about, it can really confuse a hitter if you don't tell them a few things. You've got to tell them that they're working on their swing in the cages. They're working on it off the tee. They're working on it, on the side. When they go into the batter's box in a game, they are not thinking about anything except getting a pitch they can drop. Right? So that's the little danger of some of this mechanical stuff. Is now they're thinking about, well, elbow in the slot, and they're trying to face, an all-state pitcher or something. It won't work. It will not work. You've got to let them know that they build their swing in the cages and they trust their swing on the field. You've got to establish that from the very beginning.